This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, we review Gladiator II. Plus, Marvel Studios still struggling to finish Captain America Brave New World. Kraven the Hunter projected to be a big box office bomb. Crazy casting news for the live-action Voltron and He-Man movies, and more. All in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Monday, November 25th, 2024.
You know who this is, and you know why you're here. You want all the latest comic book and superhero TV and movie news, and by God, you found it. Forget everything else out there. Forget all the Scientology bullshit. This is the real deal. This is the real deal. Worship at the feet of the holy trio of geekdom, the Jock and Nerd podcast. Play it.
Check. Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up.
Talking, we heard it. We funny, disturb it. We talking, we heard it. We spoiler alert. Oh yeah!
Hello, listener. What's up? Thanks for pressing play. And welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast, where we give you comic book and superhero TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose. Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
And joining us, this guy is constantly thinking of the Roman Empire 24/7. All hail Emperor Ruximus Aurelius.
That's right. I'm going to use this sponge. I'm going to dip it in some water, and I'm going to scrub my asshole with it, just like the Romans did.
Is that how that worked?
Yeah, they all used the same one, unless you were rich. Then you had your own sponge.
Yeah, palm leaves.
Yeah, they had running water, but they didn't have toilet paper.
Do you go slack hole up or down when deciding on who
Side
lives?
to side.
Yeah. Oh, side to side.
I do the side of the cross with my asshole. I want it to be holy at the same time. It's a hole.
I'm not. Oh, I see.
Get it?
I'm not sure what any of that means.
So, no dick jokes, just asshole jokes today, folks.
Joey, you like movies about gladiators, don't you? That's some airplane. I like movies about gladiators. We'll be talking about that later. But first, fellas, let's warm up with a little bit of geek news. Here we go.
The Jock and Nerd podcast.
The human soundboards. You're so good. You guys, it appears Marvel Studios having a little trouble locking down this Captain America Brave New World picture.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
when's it coming out?
In about 4 months. But
okay, still enough time to do.
Well, that's the route. They've been going through a lot of reshoots, and the latest report, according to insider Daniel Rickman, they had a third round of test screenings for this movie, and again, a third time, the feedback was negative.
Oh shit!
Now, like a week or two ago, they started more reshoots, just like 2 weeks ago. I don't know if they're going to have to do more reshoots, but this was the movie that changed a lot, even from the beginning, right? Because wasn't it supposed to be about like the Serpent Society, and then word came out they reshot like the whole thing. There was rumors Julius Oda was removed for these reshoots, but that wasn't true. But if you go a third round of fucking with this movie, reshooting it, putting it back together, and people still don't like it,
it's gonna be The Flash.
Wow. I hope it's not that bad. Is it? I think I'm officially concerned now that this movie might be choppy as fuck.
Isn't The Flash one of those movies that always had problems, and it had 3 million directors? And
yes, it had several writers, several directors. And look how
they did reshoots.
Look how great that came out.
And yeah,
Anthony, should we be worried now?
What's interesting about this movie is all the trailers seem pretty good.
They look great.
So everything you're seeing that's thrown out there looks good. If you're in the know and behind the scenes, you're hearing about all these things and how the movie's being reshot. So that is concerning. You would probably lean towards being concerned with all the amount of reshoots and the fact that they can't land on something that audiences are liking. The small caveat I have here is we don't know the entire story.
Right.
Also, this is something I did in my research.
Yeah.
See, now I'm mispronouncing words like you.
Oh, I'm so glad that's catching on. Yes.
Yeah. Once I start throwing in how I feel about shows, Agatha, then I'm going to have to be canceled off of this.
Once you start laughing at yourself during your joke.
Yeah. Imran's been doing that for years.
That's how you know when to laugh. That's how you know the thing is funny, fuckers.
So, anyways, the only thing that I heard when I was looking at my research for the show is, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Gladiator was a bad shooting movie. Like, the movie had a lot of dysfunction shooting.
Oh, the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know. I read.
There are times, and you can go to Rogue One, you can go to a bunch of other movies that had a lot of crap happen on set.
That's true.
And turn chicken shit into chicken salad. So I'm still willing to give it a shot. And I'm not encouraged by what I'm hearing behind the scenes, but I'm encouraged by what's been put on screen. So we'll see. I mean, this movie's coming out in February, right?
Yeah. Not too far away.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the whole deal is here. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. We already know the story. If it goes badly, we'll know what to point at. So
that's a good point about. I remember reading about Gladiator and how they were writing it, and
they were writing the movie as it was going along.
Russell Crowe did not like a lot of the dialogue or what was happening, and Joaquin Phoenix is improving shit. And then same with Rogue One, they step in, but then you get that great scene with Vader at the end. That was actually Tony Gilroy comes in to shoot that and write that, kind of saving that movie. So hopefully there's enough time.
I'm sure there's other examples, but those are the first two that I thought of.
And I'm
we'll see.
I mean, it's Feige, and I'm just surprised that this is such a mess. Hopefully they have enough time for visual effects and that it does not appear all choppy.
I think the initial problem was they hired the writer from Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
right,
to do this movie right away without getting the feedback on how that show was going to pan out.
That's right,
and that show was quite a mess too. So they hired probably the wrong guy to initially do this, and then they've been fighting from behind ever since.
And then you had remember they had the Sabra character that was going to be like Israeli Mossad, but then they got shit for that and had to change that and make it not Israeli. Yeah. So we'll see. That girl, there's a clip in the trailer where this girl is flipping around, taking people down. I think that's the Sabra character, but I was like, who's that? But yeah, no, because last time I heard this, I was like, it's fine. It's Marvel. And they're taking the time, doing it right. But shit, we're 4 months away and it's still not testing well. It's concerning. But
yeah.
Listener, let us know what you think. Are you worried, or is this much ado about nothing and everything will be fine? Join the conversation. Join our Facebook group. It's called Jock and Nerd Nation. Jock and Nerd. There is a link in the episode description. It is a closed, exclusive group just for you to geek out in. It's where I post spoiler threads for movie reviews like we did this week. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the last comic book movie for the year coming out very soon. Sony's Kraven the Hunter. Yay.
Floppy Jock.
December 13th. Another Spider-Man-less Sony Spider-Man universe movie. This one R-rated, and it's actually going to be the third R-rated superhero movie of the year after Deadpool, Wolverine, and Joker. That's kind of interesting. Its opening projection tracking is not going well. They are projecting it opened with a $20 million opening weekend. To compare, Madam Web opened to $15 million. Venom: The Last Dance opened to $51 million. And then before Madam Web, Morbius opened to $39 million. So they're saying this thing's going to open bigger than Madam Web, less than Morbius. Also, I guess there's this might be a little bit spoilery.
Spoiler alert.
There's a TV spot that shows that his powers are not by lion blood like we saw in the trailer, but it's like he drinks a potion as a kid or something. It's all very confusing. There's going to be no post-credit scenes. Is anybody looking forward to this? 20 million is not a good opening.
That's realistic, at least. That's like a realistic opening number.
No, I'm already dreading having to go in and watch this movie because even if it's somewhat decent to go to see, it's just a pointless. I mean, we already know this whole experiment with Sony doing their own movies has been, other than Venom, just a complete failure. So it's not really even leading to anything.
No, it's not. And I don't know. And I read stories that they want to keep going and do like a Sinister Six still and all the other bad guys. But every movie, I'm tired. I'm not playing this game anymore. Where every movie, it's like, oh my God, are they going to mention Spider-Man? Is there going to be a Spider-Man?
Right.
Is there? And,
that's the whole hook.
And then they fucking fuck you the whole time.
Oh shit.
And don't do anything. Going so far as to having a baby named Peter born in Madam Web. Did we even get his name? No, we didn't. But they were telling us that was Peter Parker. None of that shit made sense. And yeah, Kraven, I don't know. It's just sad that I'm never going to get to see like a true Kraven's Last Hunt with Spider-Man and Vermin, like from the comics. Ruggs, is there any hope for this? It's R-rated. It looks really violent. Gladiator is in it.
No, it's not going to be good, but I'm going to watch it, and it's going to be a pale imitation of what it should be. It might have some cool action scenes. You know, I don't think the story's going to make any sense, or maybe we'll get. I feel like it's not going to be as bad as Madam Web. It's going to be more like Morbius.
Yeah.
So it'll be more Morbius than Madam Web, which I think Morbius was a bad movie, but it didn't make me like roll my eyes as much as Madam Web did.
That's true.
So I think I could probably deal with that.
Looks like it's serious and that doesn't have a lot of like dumb. Like Venom was like the fun, goofy movie. I don't know what Madam Web was, but this one at least looks like it's kind of serious and violent. And I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Sony.
Yeah, at least there is that it doesn't look. It doesn't look. I don't even know if the right word is, because it might be stupid. Yes. It doesn't look brain dead like Madam Web was.
Right.
Well, just even in the trailers where she's just like talking in this monotone and saying, you know, like Amazon and look studying spiders and whatever.
Right. That bit or whatever.
And it wasn't even in the movie. The line is not even in the movie.
No, it is, isn't it?
No, not that line in the trailer is not actually in the movie, which was the most baffling thing.
As long as they don't have, as long as they don't have the ADR of the main villain talking, but you just see the back of his head.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
That was amazing. That movie is so funny when you think about like what actually happens. It's hilarious, unintentionally. Also, meanwhile, the only good thing Sony Spider-Man universe has given us across the Spider-Verse, the third movie, apparently is delayed still, and like they haven't even started writing it or something, or they're writing it over. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, because that
movie was supposed to come out a year after the first.
That should have been a slam dunk.
It was supposed to come out in March of this year, of 2024, and should have been a slam dunk. But I'm reading articles that like it's pulled off the thing and they don't have a story. I'm like, what the fuck? All right, don't fuck that shit up, Sony. It's the only good thing you're giving us. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait for that one. Moving on. Last thing here. Apparently, Amazon. I was trying to say Amazon is when you combine Amazon and MGM Studios because they bought MGM Studios, so it's like Amazon MGM Studios. I'm gonna call them Amazon for short.
You're really reaching with this one. Like, keep going.
Amazon, the worst save ever.
Yeah, he really tried.
Amazon and MGM Studio. Amazon and MGM Studios.
Amazon Studios.
Okay, let's go. Keep going.
Listen, what they're doing is trying to bring every 80s kid's dreams come true by bringing live action versions of all their favorite toys they grew up with in the 80s. Case number one, they're making a live action Voltron movie. And in this movie, starring Henry Cavill, and then just announced today, Sterling K. Brown and two other people, Rita Ora, John Kim. But they're actually going to make a live action Voltron with Henry Cavill and Sterling K. Brown. Sterling K. Brown's an amazing actor.
I wonder. I mean, the guy who's doing this movie, Rawson Marshall Thurber.
Yes,
he's like a rock guy, the Rock guy, like Dwayne Johnson,
Thurber, right?
Rock, guy. He's made like a bunch of rock movies. He did Dodgeball too, I think. Right? I think he did Dodgeball.
Yeah, he's known for Skyscraper, Red Notice, Dodgeball,
which is why
it's not a good movie.
But he's not like the greatest director. So he just makes like serviceable films. They're not like, oh my God, have you seen this? This is the best movie I've ever seen type movie. It's always like, hey, it was a movie. Saw it on the plane. It's one of those. It's a plane. He directs plane movies.
Plane movie.
Movies that you watch on the plane because you didn't want to watch them any other time. So you just, I haven't seen this one yet. Let me throw this on. So I hope that's not what happens to Voltron. I love Voltron.
I love Voltron.
It has a place in history. It preceded the Power Rangers and all that shit that pretty much ripped it off. Combining robots that fight giant monsters, kaiju, if you will, in outer space. How could you not love it?
Does Anthony, you know the Voltrons?
All I know is they come together and form a giant robot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got.
In the 80s, Voltron hit big. It was like the cartoon that you watched when you came home from school. It was on. It was Japanese animation.
It was dope. Amazing. 5 robot lions piloted by teenagers. And then they form one giant Voltron with an awesome sword.
I saw that happen too. That was in Power Rangers.
Yes, this is before Power Rangers.
No, they didn't do karate in this. But they
then it sucks.
So they had a bunch of different Voltrons.
Yes.
So there was like a Voltron spree in the 80s where they basically took like any, because the Japanese animation it's ubiquitous. So you think that Voltron's the only show in Japan that has combining shit that combines and makes a big. No, they have thousands of them. So they just started marketing all of them as Voltrons. They would take whatever show and just market it as another Voltron.
There was vehicle Voltron where there were cars, there was planes, like they would just put different things together.
There was robots that turned into one other big robot. So they had like a triple robot.
But the original ran with 1984. Actually, it ran from a year.
Right, and they remade it on Netflix.
That's a very good show.
And they made a cartoon out of it, and that cartoon is awesome. Yeah. It has a little bit of lightheartedness that's maybe a little cheesy in parts, but for the most part, there's some badassery in that show.
It's a very good reboot, yeah. And I had the toys. I remember begging my parents because you had the nice die-cast metal ones, then you had like the cheaper plastic ones. But this thing, when you put it together, it was like 3.5 feet tall. It was like this giant robot.
Like 13. The die-cast one weighed like 13 pounds.
Yeah, the metal one is heavy. You could put figures in the lions and then come. It was fucking great. Voltron was the best. So hopefully,
I'll take your word for it. I can tell you without a doubt, I've never seen any episodes of that.
I mean, like if you've seen Power Rangers, it's like the lame version of like Voltron was like an anime, so it wasn't like stupid. It was like a space opera with Voltron having to fight like these things called Robeasts, these giant kaiju that they would throw at him. And he'd always like fucking struggle and get his ass kicked. And finally, when all the chips were down, he would form his blazing sword and then just cut the motherfucker in half.
And I'll form the head.
And then it'll explode.
Form arms and legs.
So like every single show ended with Voltron slicing some fucking beast in half and it exploding into a million pieces.
It was great, but it was still like a kid's show, right? Characters didn't die. And it was all self-contained, one-off stories every episode. It was no Robotech. When I was a kid, Robotech was wild because people died. It was an ongoing soap opera. When I saw that shit, I'm surprised that hasn't been rebooted into a movie.
Question for you guys, because you guys obviously are very nerded out about this.
Yeah, it's great.
Was Transformers around at the same time, and what was more popular?
It was. I think it was around at the same time. I believe.
I think they came out at the same time. I think they were both Japanese animation that was imported to the U.S. So they both kind of had the same fan base. They were both popular, but Transformers had longer staying power, I guess, because they made that movie in the early 2000s, and that like basically put them back on the map.
There was more Transformer toys also than but Transformers always was its counterpart was GoBots. Voltron kind of stood next to it, but it also had knockoffs and competitors.
I think that once the Power Rangers kind of filled that void, that like there was no need for Voltron anymore.
They both started in 1984.
But the thing is, see, like the thing about the Power Rangers and the difference between See, like Voltron is like a legendary weapon.
Yes, legendary defense.
And when you watch the cartoon, it's regarded that way. They're like, we're gonna fucking form Voltron. Like we have access to this fucking amazing
once
weapon.
they formed Voltron, it was over. Essentially,
Yeah.
You pull that sword out, it's done. You win.
So like it was like regarded as this weapon that everybody coveted, that like this thing that no one else had. Like it was this genius piece of machinery, and the Zords seem very disposable in Power Rangers. Like they don't have a special, like the Megazord doesn't really have a personality or anything about it. So, and like in Voltron, you have to like become one with the lion. Like the lion has to respond to you.
Yeah.
And it has to like you. And if it doesn't like you, it'll fucking fuck with you and shit.
Dude, and the whole thing about how the lions were like in different like places, like underwater or under a volcano or in the desert, and they would all take these long tunnels in these little cars and get into the lines. Like, it was fucking great. And I can't believe I'm going to be in a world where there's going to be live action Voltron.
I hope it doesn't suck.
I hope it doesn't suck. I don't know if it's going to be campy. What
You know
kind
who they
of
should get
tone?
to do to direct it?
The guy who directed Red Notice?
Oh, no.
No.
Is he doing it?
Yes, that's who's doing it. Rod's,
Oh, gosh. Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
I was going to go with an absurd pick. Michael Bay.
do not let Michael Bay near this. He's already fucked up one beloved franchise.
Red One guy's doing this, huh?
Yeah.
You might have said
Red
that
Notice.
already.
Red
Notice.
Red Notice.
Red Notice and Dodgeball.
Oh, Red Notice is which movie is that?
The Rock and
It was on Netflix.
Gal Gadot.
And who's the third? Ryan Reynolds? Is that Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
The Rock has done Red Notice, which is bad, and now has released Red One.
I think every movie that he's going to be in has to have red in the
And
title.
Red One does not getting good reviews. It looks fucking horrible.
No, anyone could have told you when the first trailer for that movie. Anyone could have told you when the script was written for that movie that it was going to be a bad idea.
I'm sure I'm going to love that movie when I see it.
I mean, it'll be like a stupid, fun Christmas movie that's like just you watch it and you're like, it's dumb, but
yeah.
But
No.
he is filming live action Moana. Have you seen these pictures of him? I think because of the
It's got to
tattoos,
be doctored,
How
right?
is he
he's
like?
wearing like a muscle
How
suit.
is he? He's wearing. Oh, he's wearing a
I
muscle
think
suit.
he's wearing a muscle
He looks
suit
so
with the
big.
tattoos.
I was
Yeah.
like, how is he that huge?
But why? Well, because I guess it's going to look like the character from the movie who's more round and barrel shaped. But I was like, why is The Rock wearing a muscle suit? Couldn't he just put like fake tattoos on him? He's huge.
It's got to be a muscle suit, right? Yeah,
I think so because it just looks.
he's
weird.
not. He can't be that big.
Yeah, it's those pictures.
I mean,
are crazy.
he's a big dude. Don't get me wrong, but he looks so gigantic.
yeah, when I saw the pictures of him, I was like, holy fuck.
He's wearing a fucking thing. It doesn't look his pectorals look too fucking perfect. I'm like, that's not real. That's not
All right, let's get back to Voltron.
Okay, Voltron is being made. Anyways, hold on. The other Amagen Studios, the other thing they're making is that He-Man
now
Masters.
he's trying to make it a thing where he's saying I'm a
Just- the He-Man movie, Masters of the Universe. They just added Idris Elba to the cast.
He's going to be mad at arms.
He's playing Duncan, Man at Arms. Absolutely.
All right, that's a good
That's
cast.
not bad, right?
Sure.
But I can't believe that they are trying to bring back my childhood and toys on the big screen. I don't know.
I think it's easier to
These
do
are gonna be
Voltron than it is He-Man. I think He-Man's a much harder movie to make.
I mean, we saw Thor Ragnarok. You just do that. Very similar.
Thor Ragnarok is similar to He-Man.
Yeah, if you just said it, imagine that's Eternia or something.
the amount of disdain to ask that question.
Well, I can now in the manner of art direction, yes, maybe.
The look of it, right?
Yeah.
But the He-Man, they have their whole. Remember, Alison Brie is playing Tila, and
No, she's Evil Lynn.
I'm sorry, Evil Lynn, right?
I don't know who's playing Tila though.
Tila Tequila?
Nicholas Galitzine is playing He-Man. Camila Mendez is playing Tila.
What is it called? Masters of the Universe, or is
It's
it
called
He-Man?
Masters of the Universe, and Travis Knight is directing this one. So he did some good shit.
What did he direct?
Bumblebee.
Oh, that might be a better. Hopefully,
I think he's better than the Ross and Thurber.
but this Nicholas Galazzini, he kind of is he He-Man?
He's He-Man.
Is he really?
Travis Knight also, that's Phil Knight's kid. I think
Is that right?
I think it is.
Whose kid is this?
Travis Knight is Phil Knight. Nike, Phil Knight. Phil Knight, his kid.
No way.
It is. Look at it.
Really?
I think it is.
So Alison Brie's Evil Lynn.
Yeah.
Camila Mendes is Tila. She's the one from that show. Okay, that's not a bad cast. He-Man is just a nobody.
Written by Chris Butler. I wonder if this thing could actually be made and be good. But we're looking at 80s. Look, Sonic the Hedgehog is going to be big. I don't know what that has to do with this, but it's just nostalgia.
Did you just trail off to? Okay. Look, if they make they made a GI Joe movie, and they made a couple.
They teased another one. Yeah, they were teasing another one at the end of that Beast Wars.
What's the one thing? I think Thundercats is still untapped.
Yes, somebody do Thundercats. Amagen, do Thundercats. Like that.
Thundercats, Silverhawks, and Galaxy Rangers, and then
Silverhawks and Galaxy Rangers. There's a B tier. Those are okay.
Is there anything else from your 80s childhood animated that they can be doing?
I want to see Robotech and I want to see Thundercats because with the
Thundercats is the biggest. Like that's a Star Wars. That's like a space. Like He-Man is good, but it's goofy. But Thundercats could be cool because it's got the great origin story, like the great first movie.
Yeah.
Can they do it in the same way that they did the Cats movie?
No, not like that, please. But it would kind of look like that, essentially.
That's immediately what I'm thinking.
It's kind of what it would look like.
It should not look like that.
Just open cat assholes walking around,
Yeah.
and tails. But they're all cats, so we'll do it like the Planet of the Apes. Somebody does it like Planet of the Apes with that kind of seriousness. Just make them cats.
Well, the thing though with the Planet of the Apes, in all seriousness, the reason the Planet of the Apes works is because they're just doing the apes are already anthropomorphic.
That's true.
Whatever the hell you say the word is.
Right.
Whereas a cat, you have to make them into something that they're typically not.
Yeah, and then it looks weird.
Yeah.
Somebody put out a fan trailer years ago, and it was amazing, and it looked great, and it was like.
Remember when they tried to do Gem in the holograms, and it was terrible.
Live action.
Yeah, it was bad. Like it was like so not Gem. What about Thundar the Barbarian? I think that's a great one.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are going real niche now.
Listen,
I have no idea. At least Voltron, I kind of knew what you were talking about.
Thundar. There's no new ideas in Hollywood anyway.
Dude, Thundar the Barbarian is fucking awesome. It would be great because it's about the world's post-apocalyptic Earth. Right, and everybody's they've gone back to being fucking barbarians.
Well, he had like a lightsaber too. Yeah,
and he finds this like technology that was probably from the previous time. That's a fucking laser sword.
It's like Conan meets Star Wars. Conan plus Star Wars.
There's all these mutants because of the nuclear fallout, and for some reason, they don't know if it's technology or magic, but they believe it's magic, but it's probably technology. It's great.
Sorry to interrupt. You touched on something real quick. I saw this stat over the weekend, and I'm just going to bring it up here while we're tangentially on the topic. You mentioned there being no new ideas in Hollywood recently.
Yeah.
This year's box office, it hasn't ended yet, but if things end right now, the top 10 movies in the box office are all sequels.
Every movie has like a number after it this year.
I'll just read it real quick. 1 is Inside Out 2. 2 is Deadpool and Wolverine. 3 is Despicable Me 4. 4 is Beetlejuice. 5 is Dune Part 2. 6 is Twisters. 7 is Godzilla X Kong.
Oh my God.
8 is Kung Fu Panda 4. 9 is Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Oh my God.
And 10 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh my God. Yeah. Everything is a sequel.
Yep.
That's wild. And so this was a weird year for movies too, because we had all these 30-year-old IPs trying to come back with your Beetlejuice.
Although Wicked might probably get up there at some point.
Wicked I think is going to be the top earner.
Oh, we'll get it. Yeah, we'll get into that. There was a box office battle. But I knew that looking ahead, I was like, every movie's got a fucking number after it for the whole year. And these are the top earners. So, yeah, no new ideas. Maybe next year. We'll see.
Number 11, for what it's worth, is not a sequel. It ends with us. I don't know what that is.
That's a horror movie. Original. Okay, so that original kind of crept. Maybe
I think it's a drama. It's a romance.
Oh,
no. Is it a Netflix movie? It ends with us?
No.
That's
not a horror movie. It sounds like
a horror movie.
It sounds like a horror movie.
It's a drama.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that one.
No, it's with Blake Lively.
Yeah, it's the Blake Lively one. So maybe that's the only reason. Wow, that came up 11, huh? It ends with them, and it ends right here, and we're gonna take a break.
There you go.
Play some promos.
I set that up for you
very well. I caught it. I caught the sports ball. We'll take a break and we come back and talk about gladiators. Who doesn't love talking about gladiators? Right?
I do.
Right
I
after.
caught the sports ball. You immediately ruined it by saying that.
I caught the thingy.
They caught the sports ball. You could have just said ball.
We'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Have you ever been reading through a stack of comics and thought, maybe I should see what this Arkham Asylum game is all about? Or been playing Marvel vs. Capcom and felt like you were at a real disadvantage since you didn't know who half the characters were? Well, Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode we take a look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material. So whether you know the comics and want to know how all these games work, or you know the games and want to find out where all this craziness came from, go check out Play Comics at playcomics.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
What's up? This is Brian, and I'm the host of Citizens of Pawnee, a Parks and Recreation podcast. That's right, a podcast dedicated to my favorite TV show, Parks and Rec. Every week I discuss my favorite things about the show, which include character breakdowns, episode rewatches, and other random facts and tidbits about the show. You can find me on Instagram at Citizens of Pawnee Podcast and listen wherever you get your podcast now. You will literally love it.
And Nerd Podcast.
Oh, who's that? Listener, if you enjoy that sultry, sexy voice or just enjoy the show, this is a great time to join our Patreon fan club. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Jock and Nerd. The link is in the episode description, and you can give back on a monthly or annual basis. We appreciate everyone's support. You get stuff like access to an exclusive bonus podcast feed where the shows come out early. There's bonus content, movie reviews, instant reactions, bonus bullshit. You could join us on our monthly BB. It's BB. There's heavy BB content on there. Bonus bullshit. You can join us on our monthly Discord hangouts. Those are a lot of fun. This month is December 19th, 2024. And you can pick a movie for us to review. There's a tier where you get an exclusive t-shirt. Lots of fun stuff over at jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Okay, let's get to this week's movie review. Speaking of Hollywood having no more ideas and decades-old IPs that don't need sequels, we will be taking a look at Gladiator II. Here's your spoiler.
We already know what you're going to think of it.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
I'm just saying, it's been a trend. You know, we got an Alien movie. We got a Beetlejuice movie. What's the other one that we got after many years? There's been tons of these.
Ghostbusters.
Oh, they've been doing the Ghostbusters, trying to bring all this shit back. Yes, Gladiator 2, a sequel to Gladiator that came out in 2000.
Nostalgia movies.
24 years later, Ridley Scott returns.
A little different. I mean, I do agree that it's a legacy sequel, but you compared it to movies that came out in the 80s. This is a 2000 movie.
That's true.
Well, that's just like Independence Day, the new one. That
it's not as old as...
it's old.
It's old.
It's not as...
But not as old. But that
Pulp Fiction 2 is coming out.
Oh, my God. Don't do that. Please don't do that. On the Rotten Tomatoes... Forrest Bump.
You're going to have his kid with a coke addiction.
Feige knows all the words for cocaine. You can't use those. The first Gladiator on Rotten Tomatoes.
La Bamba 2.
Don't do that. Breakin' 3? What happened to Breakin'?
Dirty Dancing. They already did a Dirty Dancing 2.
Top Gun? They pulled the Top Gun Maverick?
Yes.
Rotten Tomatoes tells us this movie, 71% tomato meter, 84% audience.
That's not too bad.
The first one, 80% critic rating, 87% audience. Box office wide, here's the thing. This Gladiator had a battle even before it got to the theaters. It had a box office bout because Wicked came out the same weekend. And some people were trying to do a thing called Glicked. It just doesn't work. It's just not as organic. Because, what do you call it? Wickedator? Glicked? No. Opening weekend, the first movie opened to $37 million, went on to make $465 million. Gladiator 2 opens $55 million. Gladiator 2 versus Wicked box office. Wicked opened to $112 million.
Oh, shit.
Gladiator's already lost. Round one.
Well, to be expected.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Wicked, and I almost was gonna go see it. I might go see it.
People are actually really hyped about that movie. And
I heard it's
saying
pretty good. Hey, the
What's OW mean?
opening weekend.
Oh,
Glicked, huh?
Glicked is dumb. It didn't stick.
so Wicked made $112 million.
Yeah.
And Gladiator made what? 37.
55.
Oh, 55.
So
But still,
It's not
okay. Yeah, it's not bad.
That's respectable.
The budget of this movie is $250 million. Now, it had come out overseas a week earlier. It's currently made $165 million internationally. Worldwide, it's sitting at $220 million.
So it almost made its budget
It's
back.
almost made its budget back. It did
Wow.
really good overseas the week before.
Oh, interesting.
Now, just to put into perspective what this movie was going up against, the first movie, for you guys who don't remember, nominated for 12 Academy Awards, wins 5 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Visual Effects, Best Sound, and Best Costume. That's kind of what the legacy of that movie is, and maybe this thing was trying to live up to.
Well, listen, it might get some of those because not Best Picture, but I think costume design is great.
And maybe visual effects. Ridley Scott returning.
Gladiator. Sorry to interrupt. Just because you made the point about Gladiator, the original Gladiator is one of the greatest movies ever, and brought back the what was thought to be dead, which was these period pieces,
Sword and Sandal.
correct?
Yeah.
Which ended up creating a lot of shitty movies, but it was an all-time movie at the time. All-time movie.
I like
that
Clash of the Titans.
I mean, there was absolutely like a trend of Gladiator shit that came out because of that, and a
Sword and
re-entrance.
Sandal
Yeah.
and period type
300,
piece movie.
you know.
And
There's a whole list of movies. that
I mean,
came
and
out
it's
after.
still happening. Like Gladiator 2, before that, Peacock had that show, Those About to Die. It's based off the same book Gladiator was based off of. Trying to it's always going to be good. People
Ridley Scott tried to copy his own thing by releasing movies like Robin Hood, Kingdom of Heaven,
right?
Which Exodus, Gods and Kings. I mean, Napoleon. He was doing a bunch of these after Gladiator.
He just he just did that Napoleon movie. It's on Apple TV Plus. I heard the battle scenes are good, but there's like a 3-hour cut. I might have to watch that.
It's not great. It's about as good as this movie.
Okay. So Ridley Scott returning to direct. He's 86 years old.
Holy crap.
So he was already in his 60s when he made the first movie. Jesus Christ. He has said on record, I'm not quitting. He's got like 4 or 5. He wants to do Gladiator 3. He's got a bunch of movies planned.
He's 86 years old?
Yeah, he said he's going to keep working until he dies.
Jesus Christ.
This one written by David Scarpa, Peter Craig, starring Paul Mescal as Lucius, or Han, as he's known in the movie. You got Denzel Washington as Macrinus, Pedro Pascal as General Acacius, Connie Nielsen returning as Lucilla, Joe Quinn, Emperor Gata, and Fred Hetchinger playing Emperor Caracalla. Here you have half of the Fantastic Four in this movie. Reed Richards and Johnny Storm. Derek Jacobi also returning as Senator Gracchus. Derek Jacobi also was an old man with white hair in that movie 24 years ago.
He looks exactly
And he
the
looks
same.
exactly the same.
What is he, 80-something
He's
too?
got to be in his 80s. And a couple of other people that you can look it up. That's your
Jesus
big
Christ.
guess, but yeah.
Connie Nielsen's still looking okay.
Connie Nielsen actually looked okay. Again, 24 years later, she was okay in the first one. She looked pretty good. Denzel is 69 also. Playing Macrinus. Anthony.
Yep.
What happens in Gladiator 2?
Gladiator 2 is set, I think, 16 years after the first one.
Correct.
Somewhere around there. And the dream that Maximus had about the Republic returning is not there. The Rome is being ruled by 2 twins who are diabolical. And Rome is conquesting all these different places and wanting to just expand and expand. And one of the places they conquest is in North Africa and has a man played by Paul Mescal, whose name in this movie is, what's his name?
Hanno, but he's Lucius.
Hanno.
But they call him Hanno.
But he's Lucius, which I don't know if that was supposed to be known right away or not.
It was in the trailer.
Okay, fine. He's Lucius, Maximus's son, Connie Nielsen's son, and he's been living away from Rome, and he gets wrapped up into becoming a gladiator because of his country being captured by the Romans. And he has to fight his way through the ranks similar to his dad, and along the way finds a potential greater purpose to his life rather than what he had originally envisioned. So there you go.
Yeah, I guess Maximus didn't do shit when he died and tried to change things. Nothing changed.
Well, you can't change things if you're dead.
That's true. All right. Well, Anthony, we just talked about the first one being just an all-time great movie.
Yep.
A lot to live up to. How did you feel the end of this movie?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. We'll get into them as we go along here. How did I feel after the movie? I feel the same way. If you listen to plug for Patreon, if you listen to my instant reaction, my thoughts haven't really changed much since then. Mm-hmm. And I ultimately feel like this movie is a bit unnecessary. Ridley Scott, I think, he always crafts really beautiful things, really beautiful looking movies for the most part. This movie has some real shitty CGI, but we'll get into that later. But if he doesn't have, I feel like he doesn't always pick the best scripts. And this movie has a script that I think needs a lot of work. There's a lot of coincidences and things moving very quickly to get to pieces in the movie that ultimately don't make any sense. So, for example, Lucius Hanno purely gets to Rome by luck. He's not there in his own volition.
Oh, yeah.
So this whole thing of him honoring his dad and bringing back the Republic, which becomes a story later on, wasn't even a motivation of his.
No,
and it's just serendipitous that he's even there. So that leads to the part of this movie that a lot of it is almost beat for beat with the original Gladiator. And while there are times with the music and when he puts on Maximus's armor where I feel things, it ultimately just reminds you of a better movie. So overall, I found the movie to be a little bit of a mess in terms of plot and just not as good as the first one. And it invites that comparison because of how much it mimics the first one. And we can get into some of the details here in a little bit of why it's not as good. But ultimately, Paul Mescal is not Russell Crowe. The fight scenes are pretty solid, but it doesn't have the flow and the emotion that I had got in the first one. And a lot of the movie is really this Denzel plot, which is an interesting plot. And actually probably, I read this online, but the Denzel plot probably should have been what the main movie focused on.
Yeah.
Which is this slave that finds a way to manipulate himself into power in Rome.
Yeah.
But instead they're focusing on Paul Mescal's character because they're going for the vibes and the memes. And his story is just not as interesting. So yeah, ultimately it's not as good a movie. And also, as a side note, Denzel is still just acting like Denzel, which also takes me out of the movie. It's just, you're going,
that's great.
At the end, I'm going, is this Training Day? Is he fighting? What is this happening right now? But yeah, I think it's not a bad movie, but ultimately I found it to be not even close to the level of the first one. So ultimately a little bit disappointing in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, the movie literally,
literally
makes you think of the first movie. Like, it forces you, it shows you. And I'm like,
it shows you scenes from the first. It starts with scenes from the first movie.
So it wants that. Ruggs, how'd this hit you at the end of it?
This movie is like a really fancy Mercedes, like with driving on all spare tires. So
that's pretty good. I like that.
It's like you can't really do much with it. You know, you can't really go above 50 miles an hour in this thing, or the fucking wheels are gonna fall off. It's already hampered by the fact that it's a remake. It doesn't have Russell Crowe in it, so Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix.
Right
now, that you could say that Denzel brings that kind of caliber performance to this movie, but he's not featured enough to really shine.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like he's kind of like the other lead, but he's not, because there's too many other things packing in this movie. and there's too many other co-leads. It doesn't have the simplicity and the elegance of the first movie, where you have the setup in the first few minutes of the movie.
Yep.
You have Marcus Aurelius saying that he wants fucking Maximus to be the guy, and then the son, being a jealous prick, fucking condemns him, and then he sneaks his way back into Rome through the Colosseum, like by serendipity, and then uses it to fucking fuck with this guy and get his revenge. And it's simple.
It's a great simple story. Yeah.
It's a simple story.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's easy to kind of like cheer because Russell Crowe just brings this like aura. So this guy, Paul Mescal, he's okay. He's trying, but he doesn't really have the presence, and he doesn't even have the material that Russell Crowe had. You have kind of like these bad guys. You have these twins that are bad guys. You have Reed Richards is the bad guy,
but he's not the bad guy, but he is a bad guy.
Yeah, he's a bad
and
guy.
And then Denzel is not a bad guy, but then he is a bad guy.
And he's a bad guy.
Yes.
There's a lot of bad guys here, and there's a lot of things that are going on. And it doesn't really. You could tell. Okay, first of all, they cut a lot of shit out of this movie.
You think so?
So yeah. So I think that's another thing that Ridley Scott. It's his own folly. Is he overshoots? So he shot a 4-hour movie. They cut they had this like love interest that they cut out.
Oh,
this girl that they cast. I think it was the girl from like I might be wrong about this, but it might be the girl from Moon Knight.
Oh yes, I did hear about that.
And maybe they just look alike, but yeah. But she was in this movie. They cut her out. They don't. So like a lot of things are just not working here. So I think that he's tried to hang his hat on the arena stuff, which was fine and interesting and gory. But I don't think that's enough to make it a great film. It's just an okay film. It's just okay. Like if you compare it to the first one, it's not even close. Right?
Yeah.
So, but it does have, but to give credit where credit is due, and Ridley Scott is the only guy that really does this as good as he does it. If you watch Napoleon, you watch any of his fucking movies, you watch Kingdom of Heaven, you watch any of these movies, the attention to detail to all of the fucking architecture, the clothing, the fucking machinery, the weapons, how they use the weapons. They even show you how they use the fucking, how they're loading the shit and they're cracking everything up.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
And you can kind of be like, oh, I can imagine how this warfare happens and how they use the shields and all that other stuff. It's great. So he does give you something. He does bring some of that to the table. It just, he overshoots these movies and he hacks them to bits. Mm-hmm. And then the bits that you're left with that make the movie are not what you really want. They could have made this a much more elegant film if Denzel Washington's character knew the whole time that he was Maximus's son, like he had figured it out early on and wanted to use him as a pawn.
Yep.
To kind of take over. But it feels like all of a sudden the fact that he wants to take over like the emperor, like I can see him rising in the ranks and being rich, but for him to like take over Rome, that's a real big grab.
Yeah, he's just
there was no way that was going to happen.
He's just like a businessman.
So I don't even know how they forced that. They forced that character way out. So into a ground where they didn't establish enough for him to do that. It was
quite a turn at the end when he suddenly is killing everyone or helping everyone kill everybody else all of a sudden.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
it's a very quick turn.
He kind of, Denzel got a little bit shafted. He could have had a little bit better setup.
I really loved that character, and I was I was interested, and like you said, Anthony, I would have loved more, and maybe that would have been the play, is that he's the point of view, and you see him manipulating everybody. But to your point, Ridley Scott, his wide shots are always gorgeous, right? Whenever he does like a period piece and you see all the buildings and the people and it's this far away shot, it's always fucking amazing.
His sense of scale and making you feel like you were there is bar none. I mean, he's bar none. He's one of the best at it.
And you have some of that in this movie. And my opening thoughts say it's really similar to you guys. I thought I was entertained. It's thrilling at times, but the movie, it's good. It's just okay.
I think that the reason why the first Gladiator worked is because it was so simple.
Yes.
And he couldn't really, I mean, yes, you tell me that this movie had a lot of problems, but at its core, the story is very simple, right? It's a guy who gets revenge through the
story. Yeah.
And it always comes down to story. And I think you guys are right. The script kind of fails everybody here. Doesn't.
And you didn't even get anything about Gaeta and Kala. Like you.
Why are they tyrants? Why does everybody hate
what? They didn't really have enough time to really even though. There was a lot of tell me and not showing me in
this
that.
is what I was afraid of, is that there was going to be too much shit happening, and there was fucking too much shit happening.
Too much.
And it becomes all style over substance. Like the meat isn't there. The magic, that first movie there at the head isn't there.
Yeah, I just when they get to the part where like they're filling up the Coliseum with sharks and water.
Yeah.
Like that's like a big thing. They just kind of like gloss over it.
So you're just there and they're already in the boat.
Well, and also the sharks look awful.
Yes. But to your point about like showing some of the details, I appreciated in that opening battle scene where Acacius comes to Namibia.
Yeah.
With the boats and they're crashing in.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. That was fucking wild because first of all, they're launching fucking fireballs at these boats, and if you're down on the bottom, there's like two rows of rowers. You have no idea that you're about to be set on fire.
That attention to detail where he shows you the guys rowing the boats, and you get a sense of, oh fuck, those guys are just helpless underneath.
Can you
there.
imagine being down there? You have no idea what's coming at you, and you could be exploded. And then I love the drawbridges built into the boats that come down to scale the wall. I was like, that shit is fucking dope. But plot beats are exactly
the same. I mean, you start that scene is great, but then when his wife gets killed or his girl, it's right away. I mean, it's just so on the nose to what happens in the first one that you're immediately going, oh fuck, this is the first one.
It's very predictable. You know, he's gonna get taken as a slave, become a gladiator, and have to fucking fight his way into the Coliseum, but he's got no real agency.
Let me say real quick the agency is huge. I agree with both of you guys. Just to elaborate a little bit more on that point, the plot is almost beat for beat the same, other than the Denzel storyline.
Right.
So you have that, but then the other thing, and Ruggs mentioned this, I was going to say this as well, is Paul Mescal obviously doesn't compare to Russell Crowe, and then the twins do not compare to how fucking diabolical Joaquin Phoenix is as Commodus.
No.
So you've got this, and then
because you know about him, you don't know about these guys at all. Yes,
everybody's underdeveloped here.
In the first one, Commodus suffocates his dad,
kills his dad. He wants to fuck his sister.
Well, also burns alive.
It wants to kill Lucius.
Yeah. Also burns alive Maximus's kid and wife.
Oh yeah, and hangs them and burns
them alive.
Yeah.
So this whole movie, that's in terms of simplicity, you just want to see them two clash. Whereas this movie, you don't know. First of all, Paul Mescal's character Hanno doesn't want to be there. 3/4 of the way of the film decides he wants to be there and honor his dad. The other part of it, that you have the twins who they're funny, but they're not evil.
Yeah.
Well, they might be evil, but we don't know.
Apparently.
And then you have the turn where all of a sudden it's from Hanno and Pedro Pascal to Hanno and the twins to then Hanno and Denzel. It's just too many flips in the movie. And then you have Pedro Pascal's character, who's this nuanced character who you don't really know what to feel for because you don't spend enough time with him either. You just know he's a good guy doing his job.
But
so there's just too many things.
Well, and then on top of that, he is a general who's carrying out, he just wants to go home, and they're like, no, you're going to go to India, kill more people. He's not on board. He's actually wants to get rid of the emperors, but now Paul Mescal's going after the guy that his mom is married to that killed his wife. Like, it's just too fucking convoluted.
Yeah, it's convoluted.
And so Acacius was a good guy.
Storyline in the first one where the Senate was going to overthrow.
Yes.
But in this one, they do it again, but it's not handled as well.
So now Lucilla and Acacius are going to overthrow, but then they get ratted out, and Macrinus.
And then I think Bilotti brought this up.
Confusing.
But then why does everyone start following Hanno all of a sudden? And
he doesn't do anything to really inspire.
He doesn't do anything to inspire, and then he's all of a sudden he wants to own that he's Lucius, and then the army is going to come and follow him. They didn't do the work to make that you feel that.
I feel like it's there. It's there, but the fact, look,
it's there.
No, it's there because he's honorable in the arena, and he does things that are honorable, and he takes a shot. You know, he kind of like is brazen about that he's against the emperors. He's against the general. He's openly against not listening to their commands and doing what the fuck he wants.
He refuses to kill Acacius
but
at that moment.
He's just not Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sell it enough.
Russell Crowe didn't even have that many lines. He did all that just with his fucking face, most of the acting.
Right.
It was amazing. Now,
but it's also how you edit it together
sure.
and to create that moment. And I think that there is something, it's just the editing of how it's edited together. It doesn't really culminate in you wanting to see him the same way you see Maximus.
I never got the sense that Lucius knew who he was. Because he was like 10, maybe 12 when his mom sent him. Like, you'd remember, you are the direct line to the throne, and you're hiding, and you're mad at her, because she sent you away. But it never seemed like he actually knew who he was. I felt like he didn't know who he was.
I think that having him kind of completely disregard Rome and let's say
weird.
Fuck Rome, I don't want to be part of that. That's one way of doing it. But it would be even better if he's like, he wanted to be the emperor the whole time, and he just figuring out a way in, you know.
He just doesn't have the agency. I don't know that he needed to want to be the emperor. I think they should have made
wanted to save Rome. He
didn't, and then he didn't have that. And then his turn, where initially he meets his mom again, and he pretends like he doesn't know who she is, and then for whatever reason, he gets the chance to kill his the Acacius,
right?
And then doesn't, and then that flips him to now want to save Rome. It's just I felt like it was just too quick. Everything just felt they were trying to rush through a lot of story beats that could have been more fleshed out.
Now,
and they didn't have enough time.
What if Ridley Scott releases a 4-hour version?
There is a longer director's cut of Gladiator that has like 20 minutes, I think, more. But
I think time would help the movie, but again, it's so on the nose with a lot of the stuff that they're doing than in the first one.
Yeah,
and you just don't have as good an actor acting in terms of the villain and the hero, unless you're counting Denzel. Denzel's really good in it, but Denzel also just takes me out of it because he's acting like Denzel.
I thought he'd be more jarring. I was okay after a while. I kind of settled into him just talking like an American amongst all these British accents. It is strange, but it wasn't too jarring. But I like your idea of him being a slave, and then he becomes a businessman, and he discovers who Lucius is, and then
that's probably the more interesting.
Oh my
story,
god, that would have been great because
it's not called Gladiator. Earlier on that you will be my instrument to take down Rome.
Yeah, he promises his head, Acacius' head.
Yeah. You know what else is jarring besides the damn sharks? The initial fight scene with the fucking baboons.
Yeah, let's talk about the baboons. The battle scene was crazy.
That.
First of all, I was looking at those things. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I guess it was a baboon. It was a crazy looking thing, and it was not the best CGI. He does bite one and then kill one.
It was just he wanted, so Ridley Scott, when the making of the first one, in the scene with the tigers, he wanted actually them to ride in on rhinos and fight rhinos.
So
in the first
he gets
one
to do that.
He was debating doing an elevated type of Rome where it's this alternate reality where monsters and they fought these things exist. I mean, they did fight them, but yeah, the scene, the rhino actually in this one is the best looking in my opinion of these CGI monster animals, because the baboons look bad and the sharks are all time worst. I mean, those are horrible looking.
Yeah, the rhino didn't look bad, and that was kind of a fun scene.
I mean, the sharks were awful.
So I know, like, historically, they may have had naval battles, and there may have been alligators, but I don't think they ever had sharks.
You could have never put sharks
I don't know how they would get the sharks there. But alligators you could, because they can survive outside of water for a little bit.
They used to use crocodiles, hippos. They used rhinoceroses. They did monkeys. They used to use monkeys.
Were people riding the rhinos?
I don't know, but they used bears and elephants and lions.
I did love that move in the naval battle where he's like turning and then he's like, he pulls all the oars and breaks all their oars and then turns around and
the battles in the scene those are good.
But
I enjoyed all of those.
But all the stuff, like you said, just kind of happened. There was no build up and things were just kept happening.
My main. I'm going to harp on it, but I think the main thing for me is the fact that Hanno, for 3/4 of the movie, is just there.
And then when he puts on,
he finally has the motivation at the end. But for most of the movie, he's just the guy that ended up there by accident.
Yeah, he didn't want to be there. It was just by chance that Macronus found
there is
him.
no. I mean, and his main conflict was with Pedro Pascal. But that character, you learn right away, is supposed to be a good guy, and you shouldn't actually want to see them fight. So there's no momentum. There's no momentum towards anything.
Well, the thing is, it's like Russell Crowe. Once he became a gladiator, he's like, look, I'm going to use this.
Right.
He wanted to die, but then he found that the men rallied behind him. He's like, oh, I can do something now. I could probably I could survive and see if I can get my freedom. And then he wanted revenge. So he had a whole arc that he was chasing. And they tried to do the same thing here, but it just didn't do it as well because there was so many things pulling in all different directions that it didn't really hit.
Well, I love in Russell Crowe that what the beat there is, he uses the gladiator portion, the gladiator games, to get the people on his side. Right. So then once he reveals himself to Commodus, which is an awesome scene where he tells him his name and all that, Commodus wants to fucking kill him on the spot, but can't because the people are behind him. So he has the people and he can't kill him like that. Otherwise, he's going to lose the people.
And that's the advice.
That's a great thing.
That's the advice he gets, right? Win the crowd, not the battle.
Right.
You'll win the battle.
But here, they tried to do the same thing, but it's just not. It just doesn't feel the same.
It did not. It did not have that same magic. So there's a little bit of poetry at the end when what's his name, Lucius and Macronus finally do battle each other.
Which one's Macronus? Is that Denzel?
Denzel. First of all, Paul Mescal's fighting a fucking 69-year-old man, so you're like, this shouldn't take long, but kind of a problem for Lucius as he gets beat and almost gets killed, but then Maximus's armor protects him right under the water, and he hears his mom's voice, and then he just fucking shanks Macronus. And in this one, does he finally achieve what Maximus wanted? Because the two armies are there, and he's like, can't we all be friends? Let's give Rome back to the people. And they let him go back.
The one thing I thought of as that was happening was, first off, it's well shot with all the armies there.
Yeah.
The one thing I thought of as he's making the speeches, can the guys about 120 meters away hear what he's saying?
No, because he's barely whispering this shit. There's 5,000 people out there, dude.
They're on each side of a valley.
Yes, yeah.
And he's in the middle.
There's easily like 11,000 people around him. They can't hear you in the back. Get that megaphone. I don't know what you're doing. But this is also when they pull clips from the first Gladiator, and you see Russell Crowe, and you see him walk through the fields, and tries to tug at your heartstring. I did like when that moment where he enters the arena in Rome, and he bends down, he picks up the dirt.
I thought that was cool.
And Lucilla sees that, and she's like, "Oh, like she doesn't recognize."
I also liked when he put on the armor. It's cheesy and it's cheap.
Yeah.
But I was sitting next to someone, and one of the guys that I don't know, there was just another dude. I could hear him going, "Let's fucking go!" when he puts on the armor. It's cheap as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, he does it, but you know.
But yeah,
they do. That's the problem though with the movie too, is they purposely weave in the other plot so much that inevitably now you've created a scenario where you're going to keep thinking about the first movie and comparing it to it, and it's already inherent that you're going to compare it to the first movie. But this movie, with its editing, does itself no favors by putting scenes in the fucking movie from the first one.
Remember how good this movie was? Yeah, and it doesn't.
Remember how good it was 24 years ago?
It's the best we got now.
Now, okay, we've said all this, but in the theater, were you having fun?
Were you entertained, as he would ask?
Yes, I had fun.
You know what? I was entertained at the time, and it was thrilling at times with the big spectacle battles.
He does spectacle like no other.
Yeah,
I was entertained as well, but I did feel like I just felt the whole time that the casting choice of Paul Mescal was like kind of a head scratcher. And I also just didn't like, I was very perplexed about these four bad guys that they had.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that none of them actually worked.
Yeah, I agree.
So you have the five main characters that you're hanging your entire fucking movie on don't work.
Because they do not develop any of them. It's just bare bare bones substance.
But like, if you just disregard that, you're on the ride. Sure, it's fun. It's not like a bad way to spend 2 hours at all.
It's not, but it's not as memorable maybe as the first.
On the fun side, I mean, the reason why I think it works in that sense is you don't see a lot of Hollywood movies that look like this anymore.
Right.
No.
Right.
So when it's done like this and it's done right for the most part, other than the CGI animals,
right?
You know, the Marvel movies are supposed to be big in scale, but none of them feel like this. You know, a lot of the DC, you know, any of the superhero stuff, those are supposed to be big, spectacular movies, and they don't ever feel as epic as what Ridley Scott.
Yeah, when they're running through the town and they're rioting, and look, like
the riot scenes are crazy.
Even when the army's marching towards at the end, you're going, "Oh fuck, there's gonna be a huge." I was literally going, "This is Game of Thrones on the screen right now."
Yeah, were we going to see these two giant armies actually battle? It would have been crazy. But it's like old school, like Ben-Hur shit that he can still pull off.
He pulls it off like no one else.
And yeah, it always looks beautiful.
The visuals, yeah. If you just take the frames and you just look at like what he's done, the attention to detail, it's pretty amazing.
So can we talk about the original idea for Gladiator II? Who knows about this? I was reading this article.
Was it the one with the where we follow Maximus in the afterlife and he fights the gods?
Yes,
yeah,
written by Nick Cave of all people. Very strange, and you have like Hephaestus and all these gods, and then
that would be terrible.
And then he does pop out.
I'd rather take this movie than that.
He gets popped out into the real world, and Lucius was supposed to be another bad guy and actually be Commodus's nephew, and not related to him.
Do you have a synopsis or what that on the second one? I saw that too, and it's one of the most infamous one of the infamous movies that never have been made because it's so wild.
It's kind of long. I'm going to try to summarize. So it says here, Nick Cave's Gladiator II screenplay opens with Maximus waking up in the afterlife. This isn't Elysium he dreamt of, but an endless rain-sodden netherworld where wretched refugees huddle on the shores of a black ocean. So he gets help of a ghostly guide, Mordecai. He goes to a ruined temple. He meets Jupiter, Mars, 5 other Roman deities. Hephaestus has betrayed them. And then at some point, once he tracks down Hephaestus, he's zapped back into the real world a decade or two after his death. He's human again. He travels to Rome in search of his son, Marius. And apparently Marius was alive in this, even though he was crucified and burnt in the first movie. Then Lucius is Commodus's nephew. Lucius is grown up and as evil as Commodus. And they go back to the Colosseum, and there is. So the one thing they did keep was there was a mock naval battle in the Colosseum in that version, but that one it was flooded and stocked with alligators. So that kind of carried over. There's a Christian resistance army Maximus has to fight. Oh, and Juba is in it. Jimon Hunsu's character still around.
So,
yeah, it's great.
I disagree with Ruggs.
Yeah.
It would have been horrible.
Yeah,
I wish it would have been made because at least they wouldn't have frame for frame copied the first movie.
Oh, and then here's the big thing. After Maximus and Juba have been training, Nick Cave has Maximus going into battle through the centuries.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Through the Crusades, the World Wars, Vietnam, the Pentagon, kind of like they did in X-Men Origins Wolverine. And Maximus'
wild plot.
Spirit lives through time or something. But you know what? That may have been more interesting than just doing Gladiator over again, like you just said.
Was Ridley Scott on board to do that, right? Wasn't he?
At a certain point, he was down with this, but then I think some of it was a little too outrageous.
Too out there.
Yeah.
That's the hardest left turn you can take ever out of that first movie.
This article says Crowe's
mythological.
He says, Russell Crowe didn't like it also. He was not going to like it. He didn't like the first movie. But he was writing it thinking that it was never going to get made, so they just went nuts with it.
Got it.
But a little bit of that, I guess the flooded Coliseum made it in. A little bit of that may have helped.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see, like, I mean, the natural thing is to take Lucius. I mean, he's a character that you can use. Doesn't have to be Maximus's kid. It could just be Lucius escaping Rome because his mom sends him away to protect him or whatever.
Maybe people coming after him. He's got to keep him running.
Yes. So but he wants to like do what Maximus did. He
Right.
grew up loving Maximus and he wants to save his mom. And you could show how Rome is like in deterioration. You could show it. And then he kind of comes in as the savior and maybe he does something in the arena, but like he doesn't have to become like do the exact same story beat for beat where he becomes a slave.
He should want to save Rome.
Maybe he uses that like his plan is to kind of get the people on his side, but he has a plan,
and that's entirely missing from this until like the third act for some reason.
Yeah,
You don't get that sense that he wants to save Rome.
I don't think that. Yeah, I just think that having him be this reluctant hero that doesn't want to do it, it doesn't make sense. Like if you were a guy that you grew up in Rome and that you were the next in line to be emperor and you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna hide out and like not do anything.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know
why. While other people fucking ruin the place that I grew up with. I don't know. I just think it's stupid.
And then how does that as the audience make you want to root for this guy?
Yeah. Like he hates Rome. I understand like it's the way it's cool to hate Rome because Rome sucks. It's whatever the history of it. But his character wouldn't hate Rome. Like he would probably he probably would want to rescue it. That wouldn't he want to do? I would figure that.
You would hate what Rome became, but probably also want to figure out how to get there.
Wouldn't everyone know about Maximus and the story and the legacy?
Look at his grandfather's legacy.
Yeah. But he never acted like he was the guy ever.
I also still, even when we talked about it last week and I was super confused, I think it's kind of ham-fisted that he's even Maximus's son.
Yeah, it's a little forced. There's a lot of.
He doesn't have to be.
No, he didn't have to be. He could have been just another gladiator who wanted to pick up.
I know it's implied that Maximus and Lucilla had a thing, but the first movies, a lot of that plot revolves around his love for his son and his wife.
Right. So now you're
going to take this guy who was this for all intents and purposes as a Roman, an honorable man, and say, well, he also was having an affair.
Come on, it's ancient Rome. Everybody's fucking everybody.
I know, but it's just.
But like you could have still had the same beat because he still idolized Maximus.
Yeah, absolutely.
He didn't have to be his dad.
No,
it's just one of those things that they put in there because it feels it's contrived. I guess.
Shoehorned.
It's shoehorned.
It's very shoehorned. All right, let's give me final thoughts there, Anthony. Give me a number.
Yeah, I mean, I shit on this movie the whole time. That said, I don't think it's a shitty movie. I was entertained by a lot of it. I think it's just ultimately, again, just an unnecessary movie that is not very well thought out in terms of its pacing and the way it's edited, and very rushed in terms of the beats that happen in the movie. But the scale looks great. The action looks great. There are Denzel, even though for me, he still just acts like Denzel, is really good in the movie. I laughed at times with the twins. I thought the fights were fun. I got the feels in certain moments when they play the old music and things like that. But ultimately, it's nowhere near as good as the first one. And that's what it's going to be inevitably compared to. So I'm going to rate it I was thinking I was going to go as low as 5.5, but I'm going to go 6 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
It's entertaining, but it's not necessary. And I hope they don't make a third. Jesus Christ.
He's talking about it and he shouldn't have made a second one. Ruggs, what about you?
After this film was over, there was a round of applause in my theater.
Really?
We had it too.
Really?
Yeah. So
yeah. Oh, interesting.
So it definitely, for those people who went to go see it, they had no problems with it. They were. We're all film critics, and we're all like critical of Ridley Scott. We're critical of everything, so we're looking at it probably a lot more than the standard person who's going in there. Now, the OG Gladiator, it's like a 9.5, right?
Yeah,
it's a great movie. Yeah. So I want to knock this down about 3 steps and probably go with a 6.5. I could see it as a 7 because people did clap at the end of it, but it's nowhere near the same heights as the first one.
Yeah, well, this movie, It's unnecessary and rehashes the plot of the first one. But like you guys, I was entertained. I was gripping my seat at times. The scale of it is amazing. It looks great. I like Denzel. I like Denzel's character. I wish I saw him more. I'm gonna give this a 7. I think it's a good movie. Like, it's good. It's well made. It's just
you could make the argument for a 7, no problem.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that it's got to live up to a 5-time Oscar-winning sword and sandal epic. That even though it came out in 2000, it feels like it came out a longer time ago.
It does.
Like
yeah.
when I rewatched it, I was like, "This came out in 2000." I thought it was a lot older, but it's so timeless and classic that you forget it was 2000. But yeah, you got people on fire. You got, in that first one. Also, yeah, he does the double sword decapitation, just like Maximus. But I was like, was that necessary? You never saw him do that, or did you? You remember, and you're doing the move, but it was a lot of member berries.
A lot of member berries. Is this movie? Here's a question. 2 questions.
Yeah.
Two takeaway questions. One. Is this movie the Alien Romulus of the franchise?
I mean, a little bit. Because why did he have to say
all the member berries?
Why did you have to say "get away from her, you bitch"? Ripley has not even uttered those words in that timeline. That doesn't happen for another 20 years. Why is the android saying it? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I'm saying, is this movie that?
A little bit, because it's the same shit. He does the same moves.
I don't think it does as much damage.
You think it's better? It's more successful than Alien Romulus?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. They both got their positives and negatives, but I don't know. I think they might be their tied.
Okay, go ahead.
Well,
sorry.
I feel like Romulus maybe pulls a little too much. Like, he did stuff in that movie from every Alien movie and just shoved it in there.
Right.
Whereas this is just redoing the movie.
First one.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Here's the other question. I'll phrase it like a sports question, but then ask it real. Sports ball. You caught the sports ball and run. Yeah. Has Ridley Scott lost his fastball? AKA, is he not that dude anymore?
He hasn't been that dude in a while.
Yeah.
But you could still see glimpses of it. I mean, he's 86.
He's 86 right
crazy.
now.
I mean, I'm half his age, and I can't even fucking hit the toilet bowl when I piss. I mean, the fact that he's even close.
On my hands to pee now.
The fact that he's even doing anything to this level I'm amazed. Like, it's like when the guy did Fury Road, I was like, I can't believe
George
this guy
Miller is another crazy motherfucker. So I feel like I haven't seen Napoleon, and I think I might watch it. But I feel like this may be one of the better late season Ridley Scott performances.
The best late season Ridley Scott movie, in my opinion, came out 10 years ago.
No, that's not late season. That's the middle of before you get to the end. Which one? Martian?
The Martian. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, that was 10 years ago. So he was 76.
Since The Martian, he's done Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
I don't know, all the money in the world. I don't know what that is. The Last Duel.
Yeah.
House of Gucci, Napoleon, and now this.
I think House of Gucci is his worst.
So I think you're right. In the last 10 years, I guess, Martian.
The Last Duel, I didn't mind at all. I just thought it was miscast with Ben Affleck.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I think if they weren't in it, it would have been a great movie.
It was an interesting movie telling that same story 3 times from different perspectives, right? But The Martian is, out of the last 10 years, his best movie. And then I would put this Gladiator II after that. So,
oh, wow.
If we were talking late season Ridley Scott.
Late season Ridley.
Yeah. But
what a career.
But he's upcoming. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things in his upcoming IMDb.
What's his next? He's never going to make them all.
He's going to die.
There's something called You Should Be Dancing. That's in pre-production. Something called Roads to Freedom. That's a TV miniseries. Queen and Country. He's attached to be director in development. The Dog
Queen
Stars.
and Country, is that another period piece type movie?
I don't
gotta be,
know.
Right?
No, it's about a special ops agent is on the run after assassinating a powerful figure in Eastern Europe.
Oh, interesting.
But he, so then he has The Dog Stars, Wraiths of Broken Land. You know what else I heard? Denzel, who also said, I'm going to retire after 4 or 5 movies. He just said, I'm going to do Equalizer 4 and 5.
Oh, shit.
He's going to keep making those movies until he's 86. Which
those older guys, him and Tom Cruise,
they're not giving up.
Not only did not give up, but they fall into doing these action movies, and I'm as the kids would say, I'm all here for it because They're like, these are fun movies, and I'm just going to keep doing these.
Absolutely. At that age, if you could still do this and have fun, like, I'm going to watch. I love the old man action. It's a genre. It is a genre unto itself.
Crease.
Yeah. Yeah.
Old Man Karate.
Yeah. Martin Cove. All of that.
Crease.
I mean, all of them on Cobra. All right. Let's see what our listeners thought of News from the Nation.
It's time for news from the nation.
It's time for News from the Nation.
It stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
Got a couple of comments about the Gladiators. Lisa Morrison just says, spoiler, Paul Mescal is hot. Yeah, I guess.
Well, it is warm over
It
there.
is warm. I mean, it's the desert and shit. You know, he's sweating a lot. I mean, is he hot? He's attractive. He's all right. He just, maybe he could have been.
He does. You know what I know?
Did he do
What
anything?
I admired is that he did have a Roman kind of sculpture face. He had.
did.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
He looked from that old era.
He does look like one of those white busts you see in the museum.
Yeah, I don't think he was. He could have hit the gym a little more.
That's what I think. A little bit. Maybe
His legs were a little spindly.
maybe a little more definition. He could have bulked up
Yeah,
a little.
his asshole wasn't as quite as firm as
Yeah.
I'd like it.
The buttocks. Or,
Yeah, but let me say, but like, yeah, I mean, he's. I don't know if he's hot, but yeah.
all right. Scott Swangorum says the movie was great, but I felt zero charisma from the lead. Also, Denzel was just Denzel, but in a robe. His performance was great, but I didn't feel he was anyone different than almost any other role he's played. Battle scenes and stuff in the pit was awesome. Overall, I needed more Pedro. I felt like some of his character development had to have been cut out, and I bet there was.
Just missing some Riz.
Pedro's got the Riz. You got Reed Richards and fucking Johnny Storm.
But you know the Paul Mescal may be hot, but he doesn't have Riz.
Oh, so remember we talked about how Denzel said they cut a scene where he kissed a man on the mouth. It was probably that dude when he was like kissing his cheeks, the guy who rats them out, the senator. Yeah. And I was like, I bet this is where it was. Like, I bet he didn't really need to kiss him on the mouth, maybe to just convince him.
Oh, one more quick thing with Denzel and the twins.
Yeah.
I laughed pretty loudly when the twin that now kills his brother names the monkey as his basically his computer.
After Denzel literally holds Carcala's hand to kill Gata, right? He's like, cut him like this. And then he's like, I will name as console. I forgot the name of the monkey.
It's so funny.
And then he's the second console.
They didn't even build up the monkey.
I know, the monkey was
the
great.
monkey just appears in the middle of the movie.
You know what's the first movie has a great animal cameo. In the beginning, if you remember, when they're in the forest, the dog that they're with, he's there. And then when they ride out to set their flank from behind, the dog goes with them. And then when they eventually attack the barbarians from behind, the dog's right there with the horses fucking taking out barbarians. I was like, that fucking dog is awesome.
Yeah,
you can follow the dog story. Also, did you know in the beginning where they burned down that forest, Ridley Scott found a section of the forest that was going to be cleared, and they let him burn the fucking thing down for real.
Yep.
Which is amazing. That's why it looks so good. Jose Ibarra says it had some entertaining moments, but in the end felt very unnecessary. A lot of plot points seemed very forced and convenient.
Correct.
I went into this movie pumped because of the first one, and then the next day I was basically dragged to go see Wicked. If I'm being honest, Wicked better than Gladiator II.
Oh, shit.
Judging by the crowd, Wicked is going to bury this movie at the box office. Yes. By the way, Wicked is longer. This movie was 2 hours, 28 minutes. Wicked is 2 hours, 40 minutes. And it's only part one of the story.
Wow.
Yeah, it's long. But
I don't know shit about Wicked. I don't even know what that's about.
You know, so it is the story of the Wicked Witch and Glenda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. It's a prequel to The Wizard of Oz.
To find out how it's the sympathetic villain trope.
Right. They turn the evil witch. They show you why she became that they were friends. She was
They
friends.
made this movie with the Oz the Great and Powerful with Sam Raimi a few years ago, but it wasn't the musical, which is people like that better.
Was that with what's his name? Franco, right?
Yeah, James Franco and what's her name from that 70s show, Mila Kunis.
The musical, though, is huge, and it's been around for like 20 years. And I love musicals. I've never listened to this musical at all. I don't know any of the songs. I just know kind of what it's about. But look,
I know that at home you have Jesus Christ Superstar on repeat.
oh, absolutely, that and Fiddler on the Roof and fucking Hamilton all day, son. All day. But we are in the season of the witch. We had the Acolyte. We had Agatha. We have Wicked. Fucking the Dune show is about space witches. I don't know what it is, but the witches are very popular right now. John Bellotti Jr. checking in about Gladiator 2. He says it was meh at best. The Denzel plot was the best part. Political corruption that is relevant for modern times. The Star Wars prequels did political manipulation better. Lucius wasn't full of rage at all. In fact, I had no idea what his motivations were, aside from killing Acacius for his wife's death. The wife we got to know for 1.5 seconds with zero personality or charisma. The Cobra Kai kids have more charisma than her. Then they switch over to a plot midway through the film where Lucius decides to be the savior of Rome. Also, why were the people following his lead? He barely wanted to be there in the first place. Ridley just needs to hand off sequels to Denis Villeneuve.
Ooh. Yeah, headed to Denis.
Oh, Denis could do some. I mean, he already made it. It's called Dune. I don't know. Denis could do some good work with these. It does seem like a good handoff. Yeah, those are all accurate statements. It's all valid. It was fun, entertaining. Check it out. Okay, let's finish. What are we watching? Anthony, you watch anything this week? Notes?
No, a lot of sports and just me being miserable watching the Bears. So
my God, I can't catch a break. And I don't even care about sports, and I'm just following the storyline. Rugs, what you got? Anything?
I'm continuing my watching of the Tomb Raider cartoon.
I want to watch this. Haley Atwell is voicing. Is it good?
It's all right. It's fine. It's very boilerplate. It's not like blowing my mind, but it seems like the plot of a video game that you would play with her.
That's what it is. It's a video game show.
Yeah. So it's fine. It's not amazing. It's okay.
Okay. That's it.
I'm almost done. I got one more episode left.
Have you caught up on Arcane?
I started to try and watch it, but then I didn't. I bailed out of it.
Oh, you don't like it?
No. I'm going to watch it, but I'm not in the mood for it. It starts off with a lot of like bombastic shit, and I was like, I'm not in the mood for this right now.
It had a very interesting release schedule. They put out it was 9 episodes total for season 2, and they put out 3, and then they would wait like 3 weeks and put out 3 more, and then finally the final 3 dropped. The show has been canceled also.
Oh, it did.
This is it. It's 2 seasons for Arcane.
I gotta watch that show. I like the first one.
So I watched Arcane the whole season.
How is it?
It's pretty good. Again, you've seen the first season. The animation is fucking stunning. You get fucking high, get some edibles, watch the shit. It's fucking gorgeous. It is just the way it looks like a moving piece of art. How it's like the characters are rendered, and then how then they add 2D elements on top. Like if they're smoking, like the smoke is 2D. Then there's like scribbles. There's a lot of different frame rates, stop motion, slow motion. Fucking beautiful. The story was a little confusing. I gotta be honest. I'm not sure if I understood exactly what the fuck was going on because there's a lot of wacky things. But the stuff with Vi and Jinx and their dad was cool.
Where did it end off? Where the sister that she was protecting now hates her, right?
Yeah. Jinx fired a missile at like where the council is and blew up the building at the end. And they were on opposite ends of things. And Jinx's mentor died, right? Something. They kind of showed.
Who was the main character? Jinx?
Jinx. And then there was Vi. And they're voiced by Ella Purnell and Haley Steinfeld.
Yep.
Very well voice cast. And then you had other people like Victor and Jace and there was a lot of weird, abstract, metaphysical things, and it's all about like science and magic, hex tech being combined.
It's like using this untapped power and overusing it and using it for the wrong reasons.
They have really cool steampunk looking weapons and like gauntlet gloves that are weapons and monsters, and just the fucking animation is beautiful because you just stare at it. You're like, holy shit. What
it's some of the best animation I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like fine art. Like you could pause this show anywhere and it's like you could print it and hang it on your wall.
I do think some of the models look ugly sometimes, but other than that, it's pretty.
You know what I love is how they render the eyes. There are so much layers and details. You have, first of all, multiple highlights where usually you'll just have one highlight in the eyes. They'll have like 3 or 4. And then in the pupil, you have layers of the color. like a light layer and a dark layer, and it's on everybody, and it just looks, you can't not look at their eyes. And so it draws you right in.
Yeah, it's great.
So
very stylish. Have you seen this thing on Netflix called Tokyo Override?
No.
It reminds me of, for some reason,
Cyberpunk?
it reminds me of Akira.
Oh, I did scroll by this picture on Netflix. Yeah, it's a guy on like a cyberpunk bike. It's animation.
It looks kind of like the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
but I don't know. I'm gonna check that out. I don't know if it's any good, but that's another series that I had my eye on. I haven't watched it yet, but I'll let you know.
All right, that's all I got for what are we watching. I mean, I'm watching the usual. Superman Lois still going. It's great.
Oh, it's still going. Tell me about it. No, I'm kidding.
Let me tell you what happened last. I know I'm going to stop fucking talking about Superman alone.
I want to watch Arcane, so don't ruin it.
Okay, no, that's it about Arcane. It's good. I don't know what the fuck happened.
You liked it, or you?
It was okay. The ending is weird. I don't know what I think about the ending. It's a little confusing.
That sucks.
But
and then it'll never be on again.
It's over. The story is over. Got canceled as Netflix does. So yeah,
that sucks balls.
That'll do it for this week, listener. Anthony, where can they find you online or whatever?
Well, it's Thanksgiving, so I'll be eating the most overrated meat ever. Turkey.
Oh yes, have a safe and happy Thanksgiving, those listening in the United States. And then happy whatever you do in Canada. I don't know. Enjoy your fake Thanksgiving. Is that what it is? Is it Boxing Day? No, that's after Christmas. Canada does something. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving.
What about our huge viewership or listenership in the South Asia, aka India?
You ever had biryani with turkey? It's delicious. Let me get a turkey.
Do they got turkeys in India?
I don't know. I don't think so. They got, you know what you do? You do a leg of lamb. It's delicious.
But what's the isn't Indian food mostly vegetarian?
Well, there's a lot of chicken and beef in certain parts, but then South India is all vegetarian. South India is all the
I see.
Beef? I thought beef was not the thing for Indians.
It depends where you are.
And you're not Indian, so you can't speak for everybody.
They do certain parts. Certain people eat beef. It depends if you're Hindu. I think you don't eat.
What about pork?
No, you know what?
Pork for Indians, not for Muslim.
Not for Pakistan. There's a lot of chicken. I don't know if they have pork there.
What about fish? Do they fish over there?
There's a lot of fish. They got a lot of crazy fish out there, like fish that you don't find here.
Like what?
And shrimp. I don't know. They have these crazy names, and they're just local. Because I've been to like an Indian fish store, and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? What are these fish? It's all imported from India.
I love that we're just grilling Imran on India.
He's saying this shit. I want to know what he's I can't throwing shit out there. I want to see if he knows what he's talking about. I can't think
of an Indian dish that has pork in it. So I just think that.
But there are Indian dishes with fish.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because I don't really eat too much Indian food. I only had chicken curry.
It's probably for the best if you've got a weak butthole.
Yeah, well,
you can order it like
I'll just shoot to the moon.
You just got to order it white person.
I'll blast
style.
off.
You know, just give me the white person style of this food, and they'll hold back. They'll level it up.
Indian food and Thai food are two of the foods where if you ain't got the butthole for it. Yeah. You better not eat it.
You need to ask beforehand.
My slack hole's already loose as it is. I can't afford any more stretching of it right now.
All right, just eat oatmeal, Ruggs. You'll be fine. Ruggs, where can the listener find you online?
I'm eating oatmeal on X. Rugboy Show. Come follow me. I'm at Rugboy Show.
You can find all those links, listener, on our website in the episode description. Links on how to follow and support and get in touch. Thank you for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
We'll peep you next time.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. It's crazy.
My balls were hot.
My balls are hot.
Get your hand off my penis!
Get your hand off of my penis.
Jock and Nerd.